Yo, we are live. What's going on, guys? Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum to you, good people. I hope everyone's having an awesome week so far. Let's see who all is still awake. I know it's like at 10:30, 10:32 to be precise on the East Coast. So I'm sure everybody who is a grinder on the on the East Coast. That sounds weird. Isn't there an app called Grinder? I don't mean it in that context because I think they're talking about something else and different than what I'm talking about. I mean, if you could be a grinder on Grinder, I suppose. I don't know. I guess you could. But I wanted to jump on here real quick. I had this thing that I'm doing. I just joined this what's it called? Like this content creation thing. I don't really know what it is. They kind of just I dove into it wanting to learn more about creating content, about the algorithms, about all kind of the fun things. Luke, aren't you on the East Coast, bro? Are you Luke? You're a grinder, bro. You are a grinder, my friend. I kind of got a different setup, so let me kind of figure out how to do. Oh, look, there we go. There we go. I still got it. Luke, what up, man? Thanks for jumping in here, bro. I wanted to jump in here real quick. I guess just kind of preface for everybody else. Oh, you're Central Time. That's right. Okay, cool. Up late. Is that 9:30? I guess for the people who have kids, yeah, no, I could totally see that, dude. On freaking New Year's Eve, dude, I was in bed by like 8:30, 9 o'clock on New Year's Eve, dude. Thank goodness. Like I can't tell you how many things I've gotten out of from being a parent. It's literally the best. And then once you have an army, it only gets better from there, bro. So I have an army. I've got a KISS army. But dude, I joined this challenge with a gentleman, really amazing gentleman. His name is Angel. What the crap are you doing, man? I just said it's 10:30. I thought you would have been in bed. I know because I will be in bed well before 10:30 Alaska time. As a matter of fact, I would love to be in bed here in an hour at 7:30. Tempt me, push me. Bet I will be in bed by 7:30. 3 a.m. comes. No, I'm not saying you're old. What are you talking about? Come on, girl. No, that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm going to be in bed by 7:30 myself. And then I'm going to be up at 3. I'm going to get after it. Actually, as a matter of fact, I contemplated going to the gym. This was only going to be like a 5 or 10 minute thing. I contemplated going to the gym again for a second time today. Joe, what up, dude? Yeah, I figured there were some people. It's like, dude, maybe you got some people on the Pacific. You got some people in Mountain Time. Maybe even some people in Central Time that might still be up. But not Julie. Gosh dang it. Angel is rocking it, dude. 10:30. Good night. Good golly, Miss Molly. Well, thank you for being here. I just wanted to jump in here real quick because I'm doing like this content creation class thing, right? I'm learning all about like the social medias, the algorithms, building a brand on social media, all the fun things. And it is super cool. And I put this thing out a few days ago saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to put out content every single day. I'm going to be putting out reels every single day. And up until this point, when it came to content, I've just been putting out whatever I want to talk about. And although I do think that I have some things that might help people and bring value to people, I also wanted to put out there, what would you guys like to hear? What would you guys like to learn? What would you guys like to talk about? What are some things that you guys are wanting to know that maybe I might know? And if I don't, I more than likely know the who that does, and I'm more than happy to get that answer for you or that clarification or whatever it is you're wanting to know about anything. Music, guitars, real estate, all the fun things. Because I don't know everything, far from it, as a matter of fact. But there's a good chance that I do know the who that does. So anyway, I put out a question. I put out not really a poll, I guess, but I put out an invitation to a handful of people on my social media and said, hey, what would you guys want to know? And so they came back with a lot of good things. And so Mike Key figured this would be like an awesome time to just kind of jump on here and like answer some Q&A and talk about some cool things. But Mike Key was like, tell us your story. Where did you start? And I figured, you know what? Every hero has their origin story, right? Pansy, what's going on? Thanks for being here. Is it 10:30 where you are? What time is it where you are? It's always so weird, dude, because I live in Alaska and I have to operate off of Eastern time. Like, it's the weirdest thing living in Alaska, and literally like everything I do, I have to calculate 4 hours ahead. I live 4 hours ahead, which is really weird because like it's 6:30. Like I'm operating off of East Coast time because that's where my partners, Chris and Colin, they're in New York. And so everything I do, my entire life revolves around New York time. But anyway, he wanted to, I just wanted to jump in here real quick and maybe do a little bit of not necessarily Q&A, but just answer a couple things and maybe hopefully kind of give you guys something to think about. If you guys are struggling or if you guys are wanting clarification, or even if you have an idea on where you want to be this year, it's still early. We're still it's still January. We're 3.5 weeks into the new year so far. And we've done some pretty awesome things in the last 6 months of being a business. So I thought, you know what? It'd be kind of neat to jump on here real quick and share some of those things and see where we can come together, where we can align, or we can make some money together, do some awesome shit, guys. Because if there's one thing that I don't want to happen, when people set goals with the thought process of, I've got more time. I've got more time. I've got more time. I've got more time. And if you statistically, actually, as a matter of fact, if you're looking at businesses in a whole, if you look at any given business at any given time, you look at how they performed in quarter one, and then you look at how they performed in quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four, more often than not, businesses are just annihilating in quarter four, more so. And a lot of times they do more in quarter four than they did in quarter one, two, and three combined. And maybe we all kind of have that thought process like, oh, I have time. I have time. I have time. I'm not doing where I want to. I'm not consistent. I'm not blah, 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 blah. But I have time. And that is a mistake. So I kind of wanted to share some of those things about what we did as a business, what Chris Collin and I did when we first started. I mean, guys, Chris Collin and I, for those of you guys who've been following us, we've only been business partners for like 7 months. That's it. That is all. So I thought, hey, you know what? This would be kind of a neat opportunity instead of just sharing a bunch of like 60-second reels. Come in here and do a live and interact with you guys and maybe share a little bit more of my story and where I was, even 3 years ago. Because just to look back where I was even 6 months ago, 7 months ago, let alone a year ago, let alone 3 years ago, is like unrecognizable, right? And I used to be in the Air Force, and I had a friend reach out to me. His name is Joe Rinderknecht. If you guys don't know him, go follow him. This guy is freaking phenomenal. Him and I were childhood friends. We grew up together in a little place called Ryrie, Idaho. Surprised the main road was even paved. Just a little blip. I think the town population had like 500 people or something like that. Anyway, so we grew up in Ryrie, Idaho, and we were reaching back out, or he reached out to me. We got a hold of each other 3 years ago. I think maybe a little over 3 years ago, maybe. And we hadn't spoken in like 15 or 20 years. And we're kind of just doing this thing over Facebook. And it's like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? You got kids, blah, 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 blah. And he asked me, he said, Jesse, have you ever thought about getting into real estate? And I thought, yeah. As a matter of fact, before I lived in Alaska, I used to live in Phoenix. And I thought about getting my realtor's license when I used to live in Phoenix. And he's like, no. It's like, I'm not talking about being a realtor. He's like, I'm talking about being an investor. And I thought, interesting. Well, let me ask you, Joe, what do you know about Alaska? It's super expensive. And for me to go buy a fourplex in a good part of town, go buy a fourplex in South Anchorage, that's going to be 6 figures on a down payment. I was like, bro, I don't know if you know anything about the military or not, but I don't exactly. I'm not making the kind of money where I just got 6 figures burning a hole in my pocket so I can go buy a fourplex. And thankfully, he was really patient with me. He's like, you know what, Jesse, I've got some meetings with some other investors later in the week, some Zoom meetings, right? Because this was during the pandemic. This is the beginning of the pandemic. And he's like, you know what? How about you just hop on here, and then be a fly on the wall? And I was like, all right, well, twist my arm. Beam me up, Scotty. Let's go. Let me see what we're talking about here. And so, guys, I did. I jumped on the Zoom and I was just a fly on the wall. I turned my camera off, put myself on mute, and I just started listening. And I'm hearing all of these guys start talking about making money. And they're kind of sharing their story a little bit, kind of like what I'm doing right now. They're kind of sharing their story a little bit. And just a lot of it I can relate with, and how I grew up and how my mindset was, how I was raised in my family, the kind of schools I went to. I mean, it was just, I felt like I resonated with their story because I grew up similar. And maybe a lot of you watching this can relate. I mean, there was nothing special about the way I grew up. Like, I wasn't privileged. We didn't have any money. It was completely average. I grew up in an average household. I had average friends. I had average grades. I went to an average school. Like, everything was completely average. I could play guitar like nobody's business though, dude. I wasn't bad at guitar. But everything else was completely average. And when it came to money, I didn't know anything about money. I mean, I knew how to budget. My mom was very, very frugal, and she was very good with budgeting money. Like, I didn't know anything necessarily about how to make money, but in terms of identifying a budget and allocating my money for necessities, I was pretty good at that. And that was kind of the extent of my knowledge. Everything else, though, in terms of money, and maybe you guys can relate with this, it was legit. I've said this before, but it is so true. I remember the first time, I remember when I cussed for the first time, at least to my recollection, and my mom was like, "What?" And there was this stigma. She would always used to call them 4-letter words. Like, we don't use 4-letter words in my house. And I was like, 4-letter words? What do you mean, Mom? And she's like, those are cuss words. So there's this thing. So that's kind of like the thing. Anytime, if you ever heard it, maybe you've heard somebody say, hey, like, we don't use 4-letter words, or, that's kind of what they're hinting at is cuss words. For the most part, all the cuss words are like 4-letter words. And so I bring that up because the word money was treated like a cuss word in my house. It was something that we didn't talk about. It was something that was very, very private. You didn't ask somebody how much money they were making. None of that. You certainly didn't ask anybody how to make money. I mean, the mindset that I grew up with was that if you wanted to go make more money, then you needed to go to school, you needed to get a promotion, or you needed to work overtime. That was it. That was the only way to go out and to make more money. So you can imagine my thought process as I'm sitting in this Zoom meeting with these other investors. And guys, talking about money, talking about making money, that was an understatement. These guys were doing some phenomenal shit. And all the while, guys, they were talking about leveraging other people's money, other people's debt, other people's credit to do some very extraordinary and life-changing things. And I thought, wow, sounds like a scam. Let's go. I want to learn more about this. Just think about this. Think about this for a second, guys. For those of you guys who have been following me and you guys are in the community, you guys, you don't even need to follow me to know this, but it's interesting because I remember the first time I ever heard that you could go buy a house legit for less than the price of a cup of coffee. I was like, what? You can go to Starbucks and spend more at Starbucks than you can going and buying a house? Like, sounds like a scam, right? Angel, I totally agree. Yeah. I wasted a lot of time too. I've got 3 degrees and they're just paperweights. Luckily, the Air Force paid for them, so I don't have any college debt or anything. But man, I'm just looking back at like, how much time did I waste? Like, what could I be doing now had I put that time and energy into not going to school, but learning actually about making money? We have an opportunity here to come in and to change our family legacy, to change our family trajectory, to change the mindset of our family. My kids, for example, and maybe you guys can resonate with this as well, but my kids, they will never, ever, ever have the mindset of, we can't afford that. That's not something that I can do. No, Sharia, thank you. Thank you for posting this. I totally agree. Knowledge is never wasted. 100%. But what I'm talking about is, in my mind, the way that I was raised was that if I wanted to go make more money, then I had to go to school. I had to go get a degree. But after doing this for a little bit, the things that I've learned is that if you want to make more money, school is not the answer. All college has ever taught me was how to be an employee. So that's all I'm saying. That's all. For the things that I want to do and for the things that Jesse thinks that he is capable of doing, college was a waste of time for me in that faucet. Not to say that I didn't learn anything. I learned a lot. More than just the curriculum itself, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I could do hard things. Me and my wife were both going to school full-time. She was in nursing school. We both had 2 kids, our 2 oldest kids, while we were both going to school. And so just juggling that and learning a lot about ourselves, time management, time blocking, not going out and doing things on the weekend and having to stay committed to the things that I said I was going to do. I mean, guys, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm not like this smart guy. I learned a lot in college. Just like you said, Sharia, like knowledge is never wasted. I learned a lot about myself. I got a 3-point. I graduated a 3.9 summa cum laude, dean's list, the whole shebang. But that's not because I'm like this Jimmy Neutron. Far from it. But you're right. The things that I learned from there, I learned so much. I learned more than just the curriculum, like we were talking about. I learned that my wife is super, super smart. So if I was to give her some homework, in the amount of time that it would take her, let's say it took her 30 minutes to do this amount of homework. For me to do that same amount of homework might take me 2 or 3 hours. And what would only take my wife 30 minutes to earn the same grade. But the difference was, here's a big lesson that I learned in college, was that I knew that if I put that time and effort into it, that I was capable of doing that, because my mindset growing up, I kid you not, guys, I kid you not. My mindset growing up was, there were smart people and there were dumb people, and I was just somewhere in between. I never in my life got anywhere near a 4.0 or a 3.9 in high school. I mean, I think the highest, it's my recollection, I had to work my ass off, and I think the highest I can remember is like a 3.1, 3.2 maybe. That happened like maybe one time, like my entire high school endeavor. But I graduated with a 3. I got 1B in college. I got 1B. I almost got a 4.0. But that, again, that's not because I'm some sort of Jimmy Neutron valedictorian person. That's simply because, like you said, I learned a lot, and that knowledge is not wasted. It's certainly transferred over to what I'm doing now and in my business and helping my kids with, for sure. But to hear what these guys were doing on this Zoom meeting and hear about how they were leveraging all these other kind of things, that they didn't have to have money, that you could go buy a house with no money, was just mind-boggling to me. And it really opened a lot of doors. So that's what started this entire thought process of what's possible. Like, what if I could? What would that look like? And so now, after I've done the, I mean, we bought several this year. With literally, it was literally free. We negotiated it 0 down. It was literally free, and we did very well this year, and it was awesome. I personally had some accomplishments that I had been manifesting for a while, and it was really neat. And to be able to take those wins, take that confidence from accomplishing those things, and funnel all of that mindset, that energy into this year has been really exciting for me, especially over just the last 3.5 weeks. And so it kind of ties into all of that. That's where that's what started the rabbit hole, so to speak, into my real estate investing endeavors. Was that story? I had a friend who reached out to me, so that's kind of where it all started. That's the origin story. Now, fast forward a couple years, I've crashed and burned, and I've effed it up every which way you can, and I've learned a lot from it. And it's interesting because I feel like I have failed super, super hard. And because I've gone into it and I have failed super, super hard, I've spent money, I have lost money, I have done it every which way that you probably should not do it. And in doing that, I've learned what not to do. I've learned how to win. Now, one thing that I have learned, if that's how some of you are feeling right now, like you just don't have the time, the anxiety of maybe even calling somebody, maybe you haven't called your first seller yet. Maybe just that alone is causing you enough anxiety. Maybe it keeps you up at night, but at the same time, the longer that you procrastinate and don't do it, the more that it's eating at you every day because you're not getting any closer to where you want to be. And so you can't be upset for the work that you didn't do, for the progress you don't have yet. So with all of this in mind, we started a business, like I said, 7 months ago with this in mind. I wanted to share this with you guys. So this kind of ties into some of the questions that I got asked during, from that Instagram post, I guess. So if you guys ever heard of the band Kiss? Like throw it in the comments if you guys know who I'm talking about. Like Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Peter Criss. You guys know who the band Kiss is? I think everybody should know who the band Kiss is. Yep, there we go. Of course. Okay, cool. So I'm a huge music guy, and I absolutely love Kiss. I love a lot of music, but I'm very, very passionate about music. Like that's kind of like a really personal thing for me. And not only my wife gets sick of it. Like I said, I played guitar for like over 20 years, and I love everything about it. I love everything about music. I love the lyrics. I love the origin story behind it. Like I love everything about it. So when I hear a new song, let me be really specific. When I say a new song, I don't necessarily mean like a 2023 new song. Just when I hear something I haven't heard before, be it 2023 or 1985. I get very engulfed in it. My wife absolutely freaking can't stand it because all she hears, well, I'll listen to a song and she says that I just absolutely killed a song. And she means that I just play it over and over and over and over and over and over again. But in my mind, I'm listening for something different each time I'm listening to it. So I might listen to it 3 or 4 times just in and of itself, just kind of as a general overview, for example, right? And then I will go back and I will listen to it, and I will listen to the lyrics. And then I go, listen to it 3 or 4 times again as I'm reading the lyrics. And then I go listen to it again, and I'm paying attention to the instrumentation, the guitars, the solos, the bridges, like all these different things involved in the songs. And then I go back and I listen to the vocal melodies and the harmonies. And I'm literally just tearing it apart. And so in my mind, it's even though it's the same song over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, I'm hearing something else each time I freaking listen to it, because that's how my brain processes it. To my wife, she's like, Jesse, stop playing that damn song. Like it's been on repeat for 30 times now. But in my mind, I've only listened to it like 3 or 4 times because I'm listening for something different each couple times that I listen to it. So all that I'm getting at in saying all of this is with the band Kiss. When I first found out about Kiss when I was really young, obviously I got engulfed in the entire thing, the production, the costumes, the music, the lyrics, the stories behind it. And I mean, so much so that I don't know if you guys have heard this or not. My mom used to tell me that the 2 bands, I grew up in a Christian house, And she told me that the two bands, AC/DC and Kiss, they were acronyms. And AC/DC stood for Antichrist, Devil's Children, and Kiss was Knights in Satan's Service. Which I, after doing my own research and all that kind of stuff, I found out that all to be kind of fictitious. But anyway, my point being, I just thought that was fun fact for you guys. But the point being is when I started reading and diving into and I'm bringing this back to real estate, by the way. But when I dove into this, their origin story on why they did the things they did, because back then, back in the 70s, like Gene Simmons has got like a sword and snakes, and he's got blood and stuff coming down his face. It's this big production. And to a lot of people at the time, they were like, oh my gosh, like that is satanic. That is this, that is that. But in their mind, it was art. And in their mind, the reason they did the things they did and the shows were like they were was because as a fan at the time, as a fan of music themselves, they wanted to see something done that hadn't been done before. They wanted to see they wanted to be a band, and they wanted to put on a show from the perspective of something they would want to see as a fan. Angel, absolutely. Alice Cooper, 100%. Alice Cooper and Kiss in the 70s, gosh dang. Talk about shock rock. But that was their idea. That's how Kiss came to be. The costumes, the show, the production, the music, like all of that was put together from the mindset of, as a fan, that's something that's missing. And that is something that I would love to see as a fan. And the reason I share this story with you is because going kind of bringing this back to my friend that I had touched base with 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, the first mentorship that I'd ever paid for was $23,000. Now, guys, I did not have 23 grand. I did not have 23 grand at all. Maxed out credit cards trying to do it, all the fun things. So and I kept telling myself, and maybe you guys can resonate with this. Maybe you guys are like, maybe for you guys, maybe you're looking at that like, man, $5,000, like that's a lot. Like I would agree, like $5,000 is a lot. Like I like looking back, I can't believe that I spent that. But at the same time, that's what had to happen for me. That's what had to happen for Jesse I had to put myself in that position to where it was almost like burning the ships. Like, man, I have to make this work now. And the reason that I share that is because for me, I thought that was the only way that I could get into real estate. I thought that was the only way that I could start learning these strategies, start doing things at a higher level, was to pay for it. And so I did. And now, just seeing what like Pace is doing, and now he's bringing everybody together. And you have this community that didn't exist back then, that does now, where people can come in for free and start learning these things, start networking with other people at a higher level, and putting themselves in the position to leave their job, start building that legacy, start teaching their kids these things, start elevating their social circle. So I had to pay for that. And then on top of that, I learned that after paying for that, that still wasn't the community that I needed to succeed. So I've been with Pace since like day one, basically. Almost just maybe a few weeks after he started it. But one thing that I've learned, and I'm bringing this back again, is when Chris, Colin, and I all got together a little under a year ago, like 9 months ago, something like that. Well, at least not got together, but when we all kind of met and started talking. Chris and I met at Pace's house, as a matter of fact. And when we decided what kind of business we wanted to build, who did we want to serve? Who did we want to work with? And I bring that KISS story up because it was kind of similar. It was like, how do we build a business of something I would love to see as a fan or somebody wanting to get into the real estate industry that doesn't want to spend 23 grand and hope that it pays out? So how can we build this? What does this look like? And so with that in mind, we started creating this a la carte one-stop shop, this real estate in a box business. And so we did some really amazing things last year. We got to work with some really amazing people. And so if there's anybody who's watching this and you're like, man, whether you got into this 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago, if you're watching this and you're like, I want to work with somebody, I want to consistently surround myself with people who are going to hold me accountable, who are going to elevate me, who are going to push me. That's what we are here for. You are exactly who we want to be working with. I think there's this misconception that we're like just so busy that we don't want to work with anybody. Like this, no, that's not that. We're busy because we're working with everybody. And we want to continue working with everybody. And so we created this business because of fans of real estate and money. We wanted to create this thing that was just kind of a one-stop shop, and we could plug into anybody's business, whether they were brand new, whether they were fresh, they were green, or whether they've been in real estate for 20 years. And the best way to do that is for you guys. If you're not where you want to be, I can tell you it's probably because you are spread too thin. You don't have the blinders on. You're not focused on one thing, and you are not allocating your time appropriately every single day. You're doing too much. And so what I would do, if this was, if had Third Mind been around when I wanted to get into real estate, here's what I would do. If I had it to go back and redo, here's what I would do. Here's exactly how I would build my business. I would start with lead gen, because every business, there's no successful business that doesn't have any lead gen. So where you have this entire community of people who are coming together and learning this all together. They're learning these systems. They're learning Privy. They're learning how to talk to agents. You guys get to come in here and do all these things for free. Here's what I would do. I would start with lead gen. I would download Privy or PropStream or Batch, whatever you want to do. And I would start calling people, learning those how those conversations need to go. I would start finding people that I can role play with, that I can hold accountable, and people that are going to hold me accountable. And as these leads come in, as you start getting people who say, yes, I'm interested in selling, guys, that's where we can work together and help you learn how to build a business. But there's a concept that's called who, not how. And it's a book. It's an amazing book. We based our entire business off of this book. I think Chris shared a week or two ago on our podcast. He actually did the math. So we started a business, just to give you an example, guys, of what I'm talking about and the power of what I'm talking about. Because this isn't just theoretical stuff here that I'm telling you guys. These are things I like I said, I have effed it up every which way you can. I have messed it up so bad over the last couple of years that I knew what not to do and I knew what to do. And building a business based off of who, not how, is the fastest and best way to scale something. And so doing this, like I said, we started this business June 1st of last year. And I think Chris said, like I said, Chris ran the numbers. I'd have to go back again. So if you guys saw last week's show, don't quote me on it. But I think he said we did like 1.8 million or something like that in the first 3 months of real estate. And we netted like 86 grand or something like that. From a brand new business, from a startup business, ground zero. Ground zero, guys. Brand new business. We did that in the first 3 months. I think Chris said he did the math on that. Don't quote me on those numbers, but it's like ballpark somewhere in there. And that's what we did, man. We leveraged everybody around us in order to do that. And we learned how to work with people and how to lead with value. And in doing that, if there's anybody here that are like, man, like I'm spreading myself too thin, maybe because you got people who are wanting to, they're under the impression that they have to start in wholesaling, and then they have to save up X amount of dollars, and then they have to use that money so they can go and buy properties, be it creatively or conventionally or however they're going to do it. But that's how a lot of people are under the impression that things have to be done. That's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. You don't need any money to do this. But and the reason you don't need any money is, one, there are three currencies available. Let me be clear real quick. There are three currencies available when purchasing real estate. There's cash, there's credit, and there's knowledge. Now, which one do you think is going to be the cheapest? It's knowledge. There's actually very little, if any, money used at all when purchasing real estate utilizing knowledge as your currency. So the best way to start learning that stuff is to start aligning yourself with individuals who are where you want to be. Now, again, that's why we've created this business. Just like KISS, KISS was formed out of a bunch of fans of rock and roll who just wanted to create something that they themselves would love attending as fans. And so that's why we created this. That's why we created Third Mind. That's why we created a business that could plug into anybody's business and help regardless of where they are, and not put anybody in this position where they have to feel like they have to go drop 23 grand on a mentorship and hope it pans out. I wish something like this was available when I was starting out. So if you guys are at a point where you're like, you got leads coming in, here's what I would do. You got leads coming in. Work with somebody who can help you understand and close those leads. Now, the entire time, that's all you're doing, right? You're refining this process. Give yourself 90 days. Okay, 90 days. Put the blinders on, guys. Put the freaking blinders on. Put your head down. You guys have probably seen like these motivational videos on like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok where they're like, man, just put your head down and disappear for 6 months. That's what they're talking about, guys. They're talking about get off of social media because social media is such a distractor. Now, social media is great, right? You also might be telling yourself, well, I learned this new strategy about marketing. I learned this, that I can go, talk to probate attorneys, or I learned these new apps that I can use to help in my business. Guys, that's great and all. That's fantastic. But at the same time, that's not information you need to know right now. Learning how to handle the paperwork on a creative finance deal when you don't even have any leads, that's not a money-making activity. That's a distraction, and that shit is holding you back. It's keeping you from where you're trying to go. So go build put your head down for 90 days, get off of social media, disappear. I wouldn't even really post that much on social media. If I had it over to do again, I would just disappear. I would use social media. I'd maybe allocate an hour or two a day just for networking. But that's what I would do. I would get off of social media because what happens is you see all these other distractors like we're talking about. You see people coming in and talking about creative financing. You see people coming in and talking about showcasing that, hey, I just made $40,000 on this. And what does everybody do? Everyone goes into the comments when they see a $40,000 wholesale check. And they're like, oh my gosh, what'd you do? How did you produce this? What were you doing? What were your strategies? What's your marketing? Blah, 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 blah. and you get you get distracted, right? If somebody says, if you're cold calling, for example, you see that $40,000 check on social media, and somebody's like, "Yeah, I got this from door knocking." You're like, "Oh my gosh, dude, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go door knock now," right? And then so you quit what you're calling because you're like, "Man, I'm sick of people freaking yelling at me while I'm cold calling. I'm gonna go door knock some properties." So then you start door knocking for 2 weeks. You get doors slammed in your face. And then you're like, "Man, this ain't really working." So what happens next? What do you go do? You see another thing on social media. "Oh, I got this from a probate lead." "Oh shit, word? Bro, I'm gonna go build some probate attorney relationships." And so before you know it, here's 8 weeks later, you tried 3 or 4 different things you haven't seen consistent with one thing. That's what's keeping you. So put your head down and just focus on learning those systems for 90 days. Build a lead gen. You got leads coming in. Go find somebody else to work with who can plug into your guys' business and help you close those leads. That's what Chris Collin and I can do. Okay. Now you're making money. You don't know the entire process. You don't know the art of negotiating or anything like that, or pitching creative, nothing like that, but you're making money, right? Pass those leads off, and then you keep that lead gen up. Then for 90 days, you need to understand how to lead gen like Michael Jordan, man. You need to become the Michael Jordan of that. You need to get to the point, you need to go into this with the mindset that no matter what happens, no matter what anybody thinks, what anybody says, "Oh, this cat's not on social media, it's not blah, 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 blah," whatever, right? Because other people's opinions is a big distractor, especially when you're starting out. Get to the point to where, you know what, regardless of what anybody says, what happens, whatever, it is undeniable that you are a lead gen freaking wizard. And then guess what? At the end of 90 days, I would go bring somebody else in who wants to learn real estate. And I would say, "Hey, you know what? I've already got the secret sauce. Let me show you what I'm doing. Come work with me, and I'll show you how to understand these systems at a high level. I'll show you how to run a market analysis. I'll show you how to find where other investors are buying. I'll show you what an ARV is. I'll show you how to calculate rehab numbers. I'll show you all this shit." Bring that person in, lead with value, show them how to start doing this. And now you've all of a sudden opened up 40 hours a week in your 40 hours in your week. It's where you can, as the CEO, you can go in and you can go build the other part of your business. So now you got 40 hours a week where you can start learning how to negotiate. You can start reading books. You can start networking with people. You can start getting on calls and learning how to pitch creative by working with somebody else. This is the best way to do it, and the easiest and the fastest way to leverage other people is to work with other people. If you want to do it for free, unless you want to go try your hand at dumping 23 grand into somebody else's mentorship and hoping that it pans out, like I did. So then you start learning how to manage these leads and how to close these leads. Now do that for another 90 days. Now you got somebody helping you generate leads, and you go bring somebody else into your business now that can help manage those leads. And the entire time you've already got somebody else that's dispoing all of your leads. So everybody's still making money. Your business is thriving. It is consistent. You are elevating yourself. You're putting yourself in these higher positions in your company. So not only are you learning about lead gen, not only are you learning about managing these leads and closing these leads, but you're learning about leadership. You're learning about servitude on a higher level each time. So you're learning all of these things. It's not just the process. But if you want to be the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, You have to start somewhere. And unless you want to pay for a lot of money on something that may or may not pan out, if I had it over to do again, not to say, I mean, I always recommend joining and paying for mentorships. I think that's one of the fastest and best ways to scale is to pay for that information. Go learn from somebody else who has already been there and done that. I'm a huge proponent of that. Do not get it twisted. I'm not saying to not join mentorships. I'm saying if you were in a position like I was 3 years ago, where putting that money on a credit card puts you in a financial bind. If you have more time than you have money, there are other ways to build and scale a business, and you can do it super fast. So I know we're approaching the end of January now, but don't give yourself the excuse that, hey, I've got more time. I've got more time. You don't have more time. It's been 3.5 weeks. Let's go. Let shitter get off the pot. So the reason I bring this up, Jim Rohn said something along the lines of income does not far surpass personal development. I thought, wow, that's so amazing. And then he went on to say something along the tune of, what was it? Rule number 1, when life hands you $1 million, it's best to become a millionaire to keep it. And I thought that was just so genius because when you look at it, it just makes so much sense, right? When you look at these people who like win lotteries and stuff, or a lot of these athletes who make a shit ton of money and then they lose it and they're poor, it's because they weren't millionaires in their head. You guys, these things that we're talking about right now, these are the things that build perseverance. These things are the things that build consistency. To learn how to network, to learn how to work with other people, to leverage other people, to lead with value, to learn what servitude leadership is, to do something hard, to stay consistent with it, to fail and to fail and to fail, and then overcome. Those are the types of things that build a millionaire mentality. And guys, you have to become a millionaire in your head long before that shit manifests itself on paper. You have to start doing millionaire things right now. And those seeds have to be planted right now so that they can grow and you can pluck down here. Okay, that's how it works. And that's how you have to think about it. And that's how you have to perceive failure. And is if you can acknowledge that, hey, the faster I can get over here and the faster that I can fail, and each time you fail, you're planting these seeds for these money trees to grow. And the only thing that's keeping you from picking the money off of those branches is if you stop. If you stop on the road. If this is your road, if this is A and this is B, this is where you're trying to go. This is your road right here. It's got obstacles. It's got obstacles on it. Each time you fail, you're falling down to the ground, and think about you planting that seed on the ground. And then the only thing that's going to hinder you is if you stop. You're not going to be down that road later to pick that money. So you have to become a millionaire in your mind. If life hands you $1 million, it's best to learn how to become a millionaire so that you get to keep that money. So you get so much more from, working with other people than just learning processes and things like that, I guess, is all I'm trying to share with you guys. These are some of the things that I've learned over the last couple years that I didn't really take advantage of, and I wish that I had. So if there's anybody who's kind of thinking like, man, I want this year to be different than last year, but I'm not really sure what needs to change. Guys, just pick one thing. Pick one thing. I promise you that will make all the difference. If you can focus on one thing and just become so effing undeniable at being the best at that one thing, there's somebody who's going to need or want to work with you because you are the go-to person at that one thing. If you're at Burger King flipping fries, be the guy that everybody wants at their store flipping fries. Whatever that looks like for you guys. Angel, I freaking love you. I hope you know that. I think you're absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And Zach and Monique are absolutely amazing people. They do that. They have their energetic mindset series that they do every Thursday. I know it's 0700 my time, so that's 11 a.m. Eastern time. If you guys have the opportunity to join that, please do. Those guys are so amazing. I freaking love Zach. He's actually coming up to Alaska. Fun fact: we're doing like a half marathon in June. So it just goes back. Find people that you can align yourself with that are going to push you guys out of your comfort zone. For me, I hate running. I hate running so bad. So bad. It's the worst. Run, as far as I'm concerned, guys, is one of those 4-letter words. I hate running. And that's one of the things like Zach told me, he's done marathons and stuff. And I was like, dude, all right, let's go, bro. Let's go. You come up to Alaska. We're going to do fishing and we're going to do all the fun stuff. But let's run a half marathon. And then later this year, we're going to run a full marathon. Oh, he did. Did he talk about Alaska today? I freaking love him. I need to shoot him a text. Anyway, just kind of wanted to give you guys something to think about. I just wanted to throw that out there, give you guys something to think about, some feedback, some things that I've learned over the last couple of years that have really helped me. And it really, guys, everything that I'm telling you right now is what skyrocketed my business last year. So I hope you guys got some value. It honestly, gosh dang, we're going on 52 minutes now. I honestly meant to jump in here for like 10 minutes. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. I'll probably give it a couple more minutes if you guys have any questions or anything that you specifically are wanting to know or Pansy. Oh my gosh, I so agree with that. It is just you get so much more. I'm a firm believer. Like community is like the single greatest thing that will aid in your success. Not your success, but like everybody's success is community. It's not having a why. It is not having accountability. It's not, having perseverance. It's not any of that other kind of stuff. It's not anything more than just having a community, because all of that is encapsulated in a community. Having a community of like-minded people will be the one thing that will skyrocket. I mean, you get so much more out of having a community around you than just learning how to buy a house for less than the price of a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? It is literally like all things a better life. It is literally having the right people around you. It might as well be, like printing your own money, as far as I'm concerned. You got to have the right people around you. And that's what Chris, Colin, and I, that's what we set out to build. Was having a business where we could plug in with like-minded individuals, work with people, learn and grow together, make money together, challenge each other, hold each other accountable. All of that kind of stuff is encapsulated in just a community and having the right people. Rebecca, dude, thank you for being here. You're awesome. I think you're at work, right? I got to get really close because I got the way that I have my screen broken up. I would love some titles of books to read or listen to for a beginner wanting to invest in real estate. I love it. So if you're wanting real estate specific books, I don't really read, honestly, real estate specific books. I read a lot of mindset books. I read a lot of self-development books. Like Jim Rohn said, like your income does not far surpass your personal development. And one of the things that I learned, I went to a mastermind last year, and I learned a lot from just that one mastermind. But one of the things I would say that really stuck out to me at that mastermind, that unlocked something that just wasn't there before. And it was just totally surreal. I can tell you guys, being in a room, if you guys haven't experienced this for yourselves yet, I highly recommend, go. Like I said, I'm a big proponent of, if you can afford and you can pay for that education and just learn from somebody else who's already done there. I mean, it's so crazy, like how fast you can reduce the time it takes to get to $1 million or $10 million or $100 million, whatever that looks like. But you can pay for that knowledge and drastically shorten your learning curve for sure. But one of the things that I learned, sorry, let me yell at my dog real quick. I got these two little teacup Yorkies. You guys should see them. Like when the moose come in our yard, they think they're pit bulls, man. Crazy. Anyway, I've shared this plenty of times before, but I like just to kind of nail this in, just to kind of bring this home. One of the things that really impacted me was none other than this thought process. And Pace said to me, he said, "It's not who you think you are that's holding you back. It's who you think you are not." And I thought, wow, that is crazy. I mean, they're doing like this Unbreakable Grant Cardone challenge right now, which is phenomenal. You got all these people that are pledging, to 10X this year and all that. It is just super phenomenal. It goes back to, what we're talking about, community. But to answer your question specifically, I don't read a lot of real estate books. I don't know if you have read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's not necessarily, it's so funny because that is not a real estate book. Fun fact, that is not a real estate book. I honestly, it's so crazy because I read that specifically because I wanted to learn more about real estate. And then I didn't even acknowledge that it wasn't a real estate book until I heard other people talking about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow. Holy torpedo bat, man. Like, you're actually right. That's not a real estate book. But I think Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you haven't read it, is a fantastic book to start off with. The Power of One More by Ed Mylett is one of my all-time favorites. Another one is Declare War on Yourself. That was another fantastic book that I read last year. Off the top of my head, those are kind of, I mean, there's a lot that I'm thinking of, but off the top of my head, those were some. Actually, 50 Cent had one. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called, but 50 Cent had a book, and it was actually really, really good. It was all about business and mindset and accountability and phenomenal. He's a phenomenal businessman, and his book was equally as good. But yeah, I think those would be some good places to start. Ed Mylett actually has a couple books out. I think he's got 2 books out. I don't remember the first one off the top of my head, but his most recent one I think came out in like April or May of last year, I think, called The Power of One More, and that one was just absolutely fantastic, really, really good. Look at the 5 closest people to you. Get a new circle of like-minded people. Not growing and selfish. You can't help anyone if you don't 10X yourself. I freaking love that. Thank you. Yep, Julie also said, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Anything I can listen to on an audio working nights, I would love to grow my mind. Rebecca, I think all of those are really good. Oh, this one is perfect, Rebecca. I would highly, highly recommend. I actually just had our multifamily team start this one. And quite a few of them read it through already and just had nothing but great things. And I totally agree. I'm going to start reading this one again right now. Actually, this will probably be like the second or third time I've read it. But it is called, how did I just lose it? Oh, yeah, Tribe of Millionaires, Rebecca. I would start that book tonight, actually. Tribe of Millionaires. The audiobook is really, really good. Tribe of Millionaires. David Goggins actually has a couple books out as well that are equally as phenomenal. His most recent one is called Never Finished. If you're into David Goggins, if you don't know who David Goggins is, I would definitely research him. Go look him up on the tubes of the U variety. Fantastic individual when it comes to mindset. Yeah, Pansy. Oh my gosh, I 100% agree with you. I'm currently reading You Can't Teach a Kid to Read a Bike at a Seminar. Boom! This one is fantastic. I want to talk about this one for a second because it has so much great information in there in terms of understanding the sales process and moving a prospect on down the sales line, so to speak. The author does a fantastic job. He illustrates it from moving from different compartments into a submarine. Anyway, it sounds weird the way I'm describing it, but for all of you guys who are wanting to increase your salesmanship and learn really what sales is and how to close somebody, regardless of what kind of industry that you are in, I definitely highly recommend picking up You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. It is one of the most freaking amazing books about sales ever. And this one as well, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I think those are my two favorite sales books. So if you guys are looking to become a better closer, get better on the phones, learn how to better articulate yourself, ask better questions, learn how to persuade, definitely read those. There's also another book called Story. Oh man, I can't think of it off the top of my head. Story. Oh, it's by Matthew Dix. Okay, now I'm gonna have to just look it up while I'm on the line with you. Hold on. I think Storyworthy. That's what it's called, by Matthew Dix. So if you guys are wanting to learn how to tell stories and relate better to sellers, amazing book. Storyworthy. For sure. But yeah, you can't teach your kid to ride a bike at a seminar. When you brought that up, here's what I think about. There's a story. I don't know if you guys are like big into like sports or if you guys pay attention to Kobe Bryant or anything, but I remember hearing about this story about Kobe Bryant from this reporter one time. And this reporter, he got to go watch Kobe Bryant practice before a game one time. And Kobe Bryant basically told him to be at the gym at like 3:30 a.m. And so the reporter was like, you know what? I'm going to impress Kobe Bryant because I'm going to show up early. And so he got there at 3 a.m. and he pulls into the parking lot at 3 a.m. And as he gets out of his car, shuts his car, and as he's walking up to the gym, he already hears balls bouncing. He already hears sneakers squeaking on the court. And he walks in. Kobe Bryant's already there getting after it at 3 a.m. And he sat there and he watched Kobe Bryant practice for a couple hours. And Kobe, it was interesting because there was one thing that really stood out to him. And it was that Kobe Bryant was going in hard in the paint. Don't get me wrong. He's going very hard in the paint, as you would probably imagine Kobe would. But he was also, some of the maneuvers and stuff he was doing was very, very basic. Some of the drills that he was doing was very, very basic. Now, later that day, there was a game. And, of course, they killed it. They won. And as Kobe's coming off the court, that reporter who got to go watch him that morning, he asked Kobe, he's congratulating him on the game. And then he asked Kobe, he said, Kobe, you're the greatest basketball player in the world. When I was watching you practice 12 hours ago, it's like you were the stuff you were doing was basic, man. It was fundamental. It was beginner shit. Why are you wasting your time with that stuff when you could go be working on all these other different and experienced maneuvers and drills? You're the greatest basketball player ever. And Kobe's response was, I'm the greatest basketball player ever because I work on the fundamentals, because I work on the basics. I think there's a stigma that people start to think that once they get to a certain level, you know, they're kind of beyond it. They're kind of out of touch, out of reach. They don't need to work on those fundamentals. And the reason I share that story with you is because I consider myself very good on the phones. I consider myself a very good closer. But even though I consider myself that, I still, to this day, I reference this book a lot. There's actually a PDF that you can get if you don't have it already that has a lot of the different questions that you can articulate and ask sellers and things that provoke thought and clarity. And I use those. I use those quite often. I still have them next to me on my desk when I am calling sellers, and I reference them a lot. And you got to practice like you play. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to share that. I think that if that's something you guys are wanting to do, right, like it goes back to what I was saying before, guys. Pick that one thing. Become the Michael Jordan of that one thing. Don't ever think that you are too big and too out of touch to go back to those fundamentals. Master those fundamentals and then continue implementing them. So I don't know everything, guys. I don't know everything, but these are just some of the things that I have learned over the last few years that have helped me amplify my business to where it is today. And none of it is theoretical. That's the neat thing about all this. I'm not just relaying information that in theory should work. I'm a practitioner of this myself. This is stuff that I do every day. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Angel, it is like, dude, it's like going on almost midnight right now. I'm going to let you guys go, and I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night. But I just wanted to jump in real quick and share some of those things that I've learned over the last couple of years and maybe answer some questions some of you had. I don't know where everybody is in their real estate journey, but if there's anything that I can do, I genuinely would love to connect with you. I genuinely would love to hear about what you have going on in your business, what it looks like, where the bottlenecks are, and how can I help? Please, if you guys, if there's ever days that you guys are just sitting at home or you go to lay down in bed and you're just staring up at the ceiling and you're like, gosh, I don't know what to do. Why am I not where I want to be? Please, I beg you. I want you to call me. I want you to reach out. I want to help you in any way that I can. I want you guys to win. And if I don't know the answer, again, I don't know everything. I probably don't know shit. But if I don't know the answer, I probably know the who that does. So if there's anything that I can do, please, you have an entire community of people that you guys can rely on. We've got an entire community of people that are willing to jump on the phones and to help in any way that we can. There's really no reason, if you're not willing to ask for the help, then the only thing that's keeping you from being where you want to be is yourself. I will pledge to you guys right here and right now, you guys can reach out to me anytime for any reason. I might be slow of responding, but I will get back to you. And I want to help in any way that I can. And I'm going to hold you to this. You have at least one person, i.e. me, that you can rely on. And if you're not where you want to be and you are not leveraging me, then that is on you. But if you're willing to get out, get really focused on what you need, where your bottlenecks are, and bring other people into your business, you guys would be so surprised of where you would be in 90 days, let alone 6 months, let alone a year. So please, I'm happy to help in any way that I can. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I really, I sincerely do. So thank you guys for hanging out with me for like an hour. This has been freaking dope. Love you guys. I'm gonna work on some other impressions. I don't know if you guys saw. I did I don't know if you guys are fans like that 70s show at all. I did a Kelso impression, and I had a lot of people hit me up, and they're like, "Man, you've got to keep doing that. You got to keep doing the impression." So I think I'm gonna have to try to come up with something a little creative as we move on the following weeks. So I'll try to work on some more Kelso impressions. But anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your night. Sharia, I freaking love you. When are we gonna go grab some dinner? I haven't seen you in like freaking 10 years. We need to go do some camp. We didn't go camping at all this year. I don't think I saw you this year, right? I think it was last year. Like, wasn't it in 21 that we went and hung out? I think we need to we need to go grab some dinner or something, Sharia. I love you guys. Cool. Rebecca, Angel, Sharia, Julie, Pansy, Nick. Hope you guys all have an amazing night. Thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit. I love you guys. Let's have a great day tomorrow. It's Friday. Let's go hard in the paint.